One of the many shows I'm really glad I got to watch when I was a kid was Jackie Chan Adventures. This was one of the many great cartoon shows you could watch during the 2000s. And this show was freaking amazing, from the action to the comedy, the many great and memorable characters from Jackie himself to Jade to Uncle, Toru. And when it comes to memorable characters in Jackie Chan Adventures, I think another one that really stands tall is Valmont. Valmont is, or I guess I should say was, a crime lord in charge of the Dark Hand. And at least for the first 2 seasons, he was pretty much one of the main antagonists of this show. After season 2 though, he went from being a series regular to a reoccurring character to a character that only appears in an odd episode, to a character that pretty much just has a cameo appearance towards the end. So what's the context here? Why am I talking about Valmont and this series in general? Well, recently one of the many shows on the bucket list for me and my friends to watch together was Jackie Chan Adventures. It's a show we all pretty much were familiar with and watched when we were kids, and we decided to watch through it again together. And it's been really fun. We recently finished season 1 as I'm making this video, and during this watch it really brought back a lot of memories of when I was watching the show as a kid and seeing Valmont go from antagonist to joke. And it's funny, isn't it? Because Valmont is a villain. He's a crime lord. And yet, I honestly feel sorry for the guy. He loses pretty much everything throughout this show. And since he was one of my favourite characters when I watched the show as a kid, all these years later, I think it would be fun to have a video dedicated to this character.
T.
How'd you get past my security system?
The talisman. Please.
So during season 1, Valmont is pretty much our main villain of the show. Yeah, there's Shendu, but he's stuck to a wall right now. How exactly Valmont met Shendu, we don't really know. I'd assume that Valmont just came across it and assumed it was some weird, cool, expensive antique thing, and he thought, well, I've got the money to splash about, let's just purchase it and put it on my wall. Then it started talking and he was like, holy shit, the thing talks. Anyway, Shendu basically promises Valmont riches beyond his wildest dreams. In return, Valmont will use his forces, his men, his money in an effort to acquire the 12 talismans. During this season, we don't see Valmont do much. He's pretty much just chilling at Dark Hand's HQ. How he can tolerate Shendu even during season 1, I do not know. Most of the time, we just see him sending his men off to wherever they've got to go to try and find the next talisman. However, there are a few times where he has gotten a bit more involved himself. During the episode where the dragon talisman is discovered, Valmont gets his hands on it. When Valmont realizes what type of firepower it's packing, he decides to not give it to Shendu straight away. He decides to have a little bit of fun. In fact, this is probably one of the darkest episodes in the show. During this episode, Valmont badly injures Captain Black.
The Dark Hand waves bye-bye, Captain Black.
And we see it have a very bad effect on Jackie's mental state. Even just the mention of Valmont's name triggers Jackie, pisses him off. An episode like this, I think, really highlights the potential threat Valmont has as a villain. But what about the episode when he uses a potion on Jackie that will slowly turn him into stone? This is the first time where we also get to see a little bit of Valmont's fighting abilities. He's probably not as good as Jackie, but he can hold his own, he's a pretty good fighter. Overall, season 1 is pretty much introducing us to Valmont as the standard villain of a cartoon show. He does his job. He has a motive, as selfish as it is. Speaking of selfish, towards the end of season 1 is where we get to begin Toru's redemption arc of him being really pissed off about pretty much everything that Valmont has him do. And to be honest, I can't blame the guy. The worst scenes Valmont has in season 1 is when he's ordering Toru to do shit that is very unreasonable, such as, you know, instructing Toru to try and attack Shendu on his own. Speaking of that scene, unsurprisingly, Shendu doesn't keep up his end of the bargain.
You did not provide me with the talismans. Jackie Chan did.
A technicality.
He betrays Valmont, injuring Toru, and I would say this is where the seeds have already been planted for Valmont's downfall. Because it does get pointed out multiple times that Valmont is spending a lot of money on these adventures, on the travel expenses especially. However, with that said, for Valmont, season 1 does end on a positive note. Sure, he doesn't get his hand on the gold and riches he was promised. The season does end with him and the Dark Hand having all 12 talismans.
I know how much the treasure meant to you, Big V. But how about a consolation prize?
I recommend you watch your back, Chan. Toru turned coat on me, you remember?
You forced me to fight a demon.
Oh, yes. That's completely different from what Chan has you doing.
Season 2 starts off pretty well for Valmont. The Dark Hand has all 12 talismans, and they are having a ball with them. Huck Fu even rejoins the team. While the heroes are still causing some issues for the Dark Hand, overall, things are going well. Shendu, on the other hand, isn't having as much fun as Valmont right now. His fellow demon brothers and sisters are pissed at him for basically abandoning them. However, like it or not, Shendu is the only chance the other demons have of escaping into the human world. So the plan is for ghostly Shendu to enter into the human world and possess a human, to then find an object called the Panku box, which can be used to open up the portals that will allow the other demons to escape their imprisonment and enter the human world. The other demons don't trust Shendu though, so they put a spell on him so that once he possesses a human, he can't escape. Even if you haven't watched the show before, I think you can already guess what happens next. Instead of possessing Jackie Chan, Shendu ends up possessing Valmont. Shendu takes it well. Unable to escape his body, like it or not, Shendu now has to work with Valmont again, which means poor Valmont has to put up with Shendu. So our next group of episodes is all about the Dark Hand finding the Panku box and attempting to release the other demons into the human world. As if it was bad enough that Valmont had to put up with Shendu trapped in his own body, Shendu forces Valmont to have a wardrobe change. Like seriously Shendu, what the hell is this? You've taken away Valmont's suit? He's wearing a green suit for crying out loud. You're green? Come on, let him wear the suit. It's so much better than whatever the hell that is. Later he tries to change his skin colour, he tries to add horns, the poor guy already has red eyes. Come on Shendu, what are you doing to the man? I haven't even started talking about the shit Valmont has to go through dealing with the demons. One of the demons is trapped in a prison, so in order to get close enough to release the demon, he and the Dark Hand have to perform a pretty basic attempt at a bank robbery just to get arrested. Once again, Valmont was forced to spend all his money on travelling and other expenses just in an attempt to help Shendu with the Panku box. After some episode where almost all of the gates have been permanently sealed, there's only one more demon as well as Shendu to worry about. During this episode, the Dark Hand pretty much abandons Valmont. To be fair, the demon in question is planning on bringing the entire city underwater. Oh, and I completely forgot to mention, after she is initially freed from the gate, poor Valmont is still forced to put up with Shendu.
Now that I have opened the last portal, Sister Banza, it is time to liberate me from my prison of flesh. You dare request your freedom?
Shendu and Valmont did do their part of the job. They opened up every gate and all the demons came out into the human world. It's not their fault that they're incompetent idiots and fell to Jackie Chan.
I held my part of the bargain. You cannot blame me for the meddlings of Jackie Chan.
Anyway, so now still stuck together, the only person who sticks around is Huck Fu. Such a loyal henchman, what a great guy. Valmont touches the Panku box. Since the Panku box was made of good magic and Shendu is made up of nothing but evil magic, he can't actually touch the box. So when Valmont touches it,
He's gone. He's gone. He's out cold.
Shendu's taking a nap, giving Valmont at least some time to try and figure out a way of getting rid of him. He goes to what is probably the only people who would be able to help him. Uncle paints on a little symbol on Valmont's head that will suppress Shendu. Jackie and Toru are about to head out to deal with the water demon and they demand that Valmont goes with them. Jackie's reason?
You have resources. We need them.
Well gee Jackie, if only there was some other organisation that you could contact that has pretty much limitless resources at their disposal, and if only you were friends with at least one of them who was pretty much in charge of the whole thing, that would give you whatever you need in order to proceed with your mission. Anyway, so with the use of Valmont's resources, they make their way to the water demon and Jackie and Toru attempts to stop her plans. They could use with a little bit of backup though.
Go Valmont.
And ruin my Italian shoes?
And keep Shendu for a roommate?
Oh, all right.
I would like to remind everyone that the only thing that's preventing Shendu from waking up is a symbol painted on Valmont's head, and he's about to join a fight against a demon with water abilities. I give him credit for trying to trick her into thinking now Shendu's betrayed her though. But unfortunately, Valmont gets soaked and the symbol gets washed off his head, resulting in Shendu waking up. Valmont was so close. Things do look up for him in the next episode though. Long story short, Jade ends up getting stuck in the demon world, and the only gate our heroes can open now is Shendu's gate. Jackie uses the same item that was used to originally seal away Shendu. Only one life form can enter through the portal, which of course ends up being Jade. So Shendu's sent back into the demon world, meaning that Valmont is finally free of Shendu. Valmont gets a well-deserved celebration dance, and that's where we end off. We're not completely done with Valmont in Season 2, there's a later episode where he shows up again and he's kind of being your typical crime boss villain for the episode. He's after a cat statue, he gets scratched by said statue which starts to turn him into a cat-like creature. He gains the abilities and kind of the mentality of a typical cat. Later on in the episode, Jade also gets turned into a cat and Valmont loses to her in a fight. And this is where we wrap up Season 2 for Valmont pretty much. There's not much else to really say. While we didn't have much of a choice this time around, he still had his moments of being a comedic but also entertaining villain, I would say. His dynamic with Shendu in this season is definitely a lot better and more entertaining than it was in Season 1, so there's at least that I'll say. But as mentioned during this segment, Shendu forces Valmont to once again spend a lot of money without any money coming in, and this time around Valmont didn't even have a total choice or say when it comes to what he can and can't do, because obviously Shendu is partially in control in his body as well. Again, just look what he does to the man. Just another reason why Shendu deserves to be banished, I guess.
It's gone! I got my body back! Whippy!
True, this demon nonsense has depleted Dark Hand finances, but you know I'm good for it!
On to Season 3, Valmont is broke. After the events of Season 1 and 2, he pretty much has lost everything. Finn, Ratso and Chow agree to stick around and still work with the man for as long as they become partners instead of enforcers.
You three will break into Section 13 and steal the talismans.
Whoa, again?
After another attempt of getting their hands on the talismans, now in Section 13, Daolon Wong, a villain from a few episodes in Season 2, returns, and is also after the talismans. Jackie of course gets involved, and he makes a pretty extreme choice. While the powers still exist, the talismans are destroyed. Finn, Ratso and Chow tries to explain what happened to Valmont, where Daolon Wong shows up once again, and decides to turn Finn, Ratso and Chow into his new henchmen. You know, thinking about it, I don't understand why he didn't just turn Valmont into another servant for him as well. Focusing on Valmont, Season 3 is the season where he's no longer a regular character. He only appears in 3 episodes in this season. The next time we see him, he's a little bit roughed up, clearly things haven't been going well, forced to do his own petty crimes by himself. He's bumped into Daolon Wong.
You shall suffer for what you have done.
What I have done? You transform my enforcers into samurai zombies. I've been reduced to performing my own dirty work. Return Finn, Ratso and Chow to me at once!
A spell is casted on Valmont that turns him into a child. This isn't the first time we've seen Valmont as a child. We actually got to see this in a Season 2 episode which took place during the events of Season 1 because, oh, my head hurts. Oh, and the episode was also a time travel plot. Anyway, young Valmont here is forced to once again go to Jackie for help. He believes that possibly the powers of the horse talisman will restore him back to normal. It's a brief scene, but I really want to highlight this moment from the episode.
Ease up, sweaty. No one touches little V with us around.
At least Valmont bothered to learn our names.
And he's so cute now, boss.
I really like this scene. As short as it was, it doesn't take long for it to go south for Finn, Ratso and Chow, but I've got to give props to them sticking up for Valmont. Anyway, fast forward into the end. The horse talisman powers didn't work. Luckily, Uncle, the best character, is able to restore Valmont back to his original age, and the episode ends on him being arrested. He doesn't stay in prison for long though. Somehow he escaped, and now he has a new plan: to use an amnesia potion on Toru to make him lose his memories, in an effort to revert him back to basically how he was in Season 1 as being Valmont's muscle. Pretty decent plan. Unfortunately for Valmont, it doesn't work out, because of course it doesn't. Hell, Toru doesn't even get his memories back at the end of the episode. Valmont mistreated him just like he did in Season 1. Jackie and Toru briefly fought together, and that was enough for Toru to turn his back on Valmont. Thanks to Jade, the amnesia potion ends up being used on him as well, resulting in him forgetting exactly who he was, and the episode ends with Valmont showing off his ballerina skills.
Now see here, just because I look like a child doesn't mean you can treat me like one.
I am treating you like a criminal. Toru will treat you like a child.
Now, are you going to be a good little boy?
You're filthy rich one? But you're not rich. Just filthy.
If you thought it was bad for Valmont in Season 3, well, now we are obviously moving on to Season 4. Valmont only appears in one episode. He's somehow learned about what's going on with the Oni mask, and he manages to outbid both Jade and the enforcers on one of the masks that was going on for sale. We get to see what Valmont's living conditions are like right now, and it's a little bit tight. While everyone is fighting for the mask, it gets broken in half. Valmont puts on one half of the mask, which still grants him the abilities to summon his own Shadowcon. Later in the episode, Jade puts on the other half of the mask and summons the other half of the Shadowcon in an effort to help Jackie, and it somewhat works, at least until the mask on both Valmont and Jade starts possessing them more and more. It's funny, isn't it? Valmont is once again in a situation where another entity is in partial control of his body. I wonder if he was having flashbacks to that time where Shendu was trapped in his body during this episode. Anyway, Valmont and Jade team up to remove each half of the mask, and Valmont offers it back to Jackie and Jade. When a box of diamonds catches his eye, he says to hell with the mask and focuses on the box. But as he grabs the box... So long, Valmont. Enjoy Mexico.
I will do what I please with the mask that I purchased fair and square with stolen money.
So, Season 5. Valmont appears in 2 episodes for Season 5, but, well, let's just talk about the scenes. Drago, our main antagonist, is looking for new henchmen. After trying and failing with Finn, Ratso and Chow, even admitting to himself that maybe he shouldn't have gotten rid of them, he seeks out new talent. Valmont shows up and...
Next!
Damn, Drago, you didn't even give the guy a chance to speak. Well, great seeing you again, Valmont. TTFN, ta-ta for now. So, what's his second appearance? Surely it's a little bit more meaningful than that scene, right? Well, during the final episode of the series, Jackie and the team have to save a bus that's about to go over a broken bridge. After saving said bus...
Valmont?
Funny thing with this scene, I never caught this when I watched this as a kid, but according to the Jackie Chan Adventures wiki, Valmont is the bus driver. All this time I thought he was just a passenger trying to get the hell out of Dodge, considering what the hell was going on during the events of this episode. But no, Valmont was the driver. He was the bus driver. He went from crime lord to bus driver. Bus driving isn't the worst job in the world, Valmont. I'm sure you can make decent money off that. At least it's an honest living. So yeah, like I said at the start of the video, I can't help but actually feel sorry for Valmont. I feel like Valmont's quote-unquote journey throughout Jackie Chan Adventures is something I have sympathy for, but I won't lie, I also find it absolutely hilarious. I do wish I could ask someone who worked on this show if this was always the plan with Valmont. Like, at what point was it decided by the writers to have Valmont go from a series regular to a reoccurring character to a character that basically has the equivalent of just cameo appearances? Maybe it was on purpose, you know, maybe to try and teach kids that crime doesn't pay. Valmont had multiple choices after the events of Season 2, and he chose the choice that just resulted in him losing more and more. Maybe it was a behind the scenes thing with the voice actor, or I guess I should say voice actors, because Valmont is voiced by multiple people in this show. Or maybe I'm thinking too much about this, and again, this is just a silly cartoon show that kids are going to watch, and the writers thought it would just be funny to have a character like Valmont go from main villain to punching bag of the show. Regardless on the reason why Valmont ended up suffering this fate, like I said, I won't lie, it's funny. I have sympathy for the guy, but I'm also just laughing every time I'm watching Jackie Chan Adventures and being reminded of what Valmont ends up going through and what happens to him. But yeah, I think I've rambled enough about this topic. Like I said at the start, Valmont is one of my favourite characters of the show, and I think he is one of the most memorable characters of the show because of his unfortunate downfall. I hope you enjoyed this trip down memory lane. Hopefully my friends and I can continue our watch along together of Jackie Chan Adventures, and who knows, maybe during our watch along I'll get the motivation to make another video dedicated to this amazing cartoon. We'll just have to wait and see.
Ta-ta! Must make up for my wasted youth. Lead a life of crime, perhaps.
Valmont, you're under arrest.
What? No! Reverse the spell, please! I demand to be tried as a minor!